everyone, welcome to this week's Halton Hills housing update. So I've got May numbers as well as what happened last week, so let's take a look. In terms of our average monthly price, we're actually down year over year and down month over month. So looking at May of 2023, our average price was 1.186 million. We're actually down to $1,047,000. So it's down like just under 12%, which is pretty significant year over year. I will say last May was one of our strongest months of the year. So that's kind of no surprise. Inventory was a little bit less than we're seeing right now, but that definitely is not the direction we want to see the pricing going. Our average price last month was almost 1.2 million, but we had 93 sales in May of 2023 and only 70 last month. And of those 70, over 40 of them were under $1 million. So that is going to bring our price point, like our average price point, is definitely going to come down because of how many properties transacted under $1 million. We did have quite a few big sales, but it just wasn't enough, compared to those lower price point sales, which we know is where the market is moving. So that's no huge surprise. I am surprised to see it under that $1,050,000 mark, but it is what it is. And we're just gonna have to hope that June is a little bit stronger, because that's kind of in line with what we've been seeing, but it's not, it's not a very strong number. It's up from January, but down from like April and March. So we will have to see what happens in June, especially with the looming interest rate announcement. So looking at what happened last week was not a great week in sales. So Georgetown only had 6 sales. That's a very, very slow week for Georgetown, and I was super surprised to see that number. 6 sales is something that we do not want to see a lot of, because it means that our market is sort of dying. So hopefully that's sort of an in-between week, because there is quite a few homes that are in the sold conditional status. So I'm hoping that next week we actually have a pretty big number in terms of sales. But 6 sales last week is not great. The other bad news is that we had 17 new listings in Georgetown, so inventory is going to be way up. Acton last week had 5 sales, which is a strong week for Acton, and we've been talking about how they have a lot of lower price point stuff, so no real surprise to see Acton's market still moving. There was only 2 new listings there. There was no sales in Glen Williams and 2 new listings. Limehouse had no sales and 1 new listing, and the rural market had no sales and 3 new listings. And when we're looking at our properties that are making changes in terms of terminating and coming back on the market, there was 19 properties that were impacted last week. 10 of them reduced their price. They came back on the market at a lower price. And this number it's outside of people that just do price reductions. It would be honestly way too much work for me to really track every price reduction, but it's showing that people are coming off the market and re-entering at lower prices to freshen their listing. And it's happening at a pretty rapid pace right now. Those numbers are very high, and we're seeing a lot of people making pricing adjustments, especially over the $1 million mark. There was also there was 8 properties that came off the market last week. So they terminated and have not re-entered. So that has helped to keep our inventory sort of at bay. And then there was 1 property that relisted at the same price. So overall, there's still a lot of movement in terms of people coming off the market and people adjusting their price. And that is just showing us that we are definitely in a buyer's market right now. So looking at active inventory, all of Halton Hills is up from 201 to 208 listings. It's still not like the highest we've seen, but this is definitely like saturated territory. The far majority of properties are over that $1 million mark, but we still have quite a few properties under that $1 million mark that aren't moving. So it's just sort of a waiting game to see tomorrow what's going to happen and if that's going to fuel the market. So looking at Georgetown, it's up a lot this week from 110 to 117 active listings. That we're pushing really high inventory territory. We are not near the 140, which is usually like kind of the max that we see, but it's certainly climbing. Our price points under 800,000 is up from 7 to 8, so not a lot available under 800,000. And then from 800 to a million, we're up from 21 to 24 active listings. There's a bunch of them in the sold conditional status. Again, based on what we saw with our May numbers, this is still the pocket of properties that moves a little more rapidly than our million plus price points. So 1 to 1.5 million is down slightly this week from 43 to 42, and 1.5 million plus just keeps on climbing. It is up from 39 to 43 active listings. And again, like, it is just almost impossible to move a property in this pocket. We are seeing, you know, a handful of sales here. It's really just, it's a tricky price point to find a buyer in right now. And again, will the interest rate announcement make, you know, people have a bit more buying power, and then we'll start to see those higher things sell? I'm not sold. I think we're gonna have to see a lot more interest rate reductions, but I mean, again, time will tell. Looking at Acton this week, so they are down from 33 to 30 active listings, which is, again, still very high, but it's good to see that they are seeing enough sales that it's outpacing their inventory coming on the market. Glen Williams is up from 10 to 12 active listings. That is a lot of listings in the Glen. 12 might be the highest number we've ever seen there. Limehouse remained the same at 3, and the rural market is up to 46. Again, we are in record territory with the rural market inventory. It is super high, but all those properties are very expensive and not a lot of buyers, so there's no huge surprise. So overall, I guess the surprise is really our average price being down so significantly. But I mean, we're still not under that million mark, which is where we've been when the market really dies off. We could have a really good June. We could have a really bad June. I mean, we can't predict these things anymore. I am hopeful that we will see interest rates, you know, maybe cut by 0.25 tomorrow, and that might help to fuel our June market. But the numbers are still, in terms of our inventory, sitting extremely high, and it's going to be quite a while, I think, before we feel these soften again. So I will be back next week to see what happens with our first week in June. Have a great week, everyone.